So the 2025 NBA draft is in the books, and a video that's going to come out next on this channel is a way too early 2026 mock draft just to get an early look at next year's class. And something that I think is very interesting to look back on, my way too early mock draft back in 2025. So today we are going to react to a video I made last offseason right after the 2024 draft. And I remember when I reacted to my way too early 2024 mock draft, I had Bronny James in the top 10. So this is going to be cool to look back on to see where I had guys like Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, and Dylan Harper. And I can kind of see what aged well, what didn't age well, because not all these guys that were type high school recruits really worked out in their first year, or maybe they were an overseas player and they may end up being in the 2026 class or went a lot later this past draft. All right, so let's get into this. Man, we thought Brooklyn could end up getting the #1 overall pick. They ended up getting 8. We'll start off with the Brooklyn Nets having the #1 overall pick. I'm going to do something nice for you Nets fans. Gave you the tiebreaker over the Washington Wizards, who could definitely end up with the first overall pick. Obviously, the lottery will have a lot to say in this, but this is going to be a clear 1.1 right now. My top prospect in this draft going into next year's season, it's going to be Cooper Flagg from Duke. Flagg is pretty much the most anticipated freshman prospect in the NBA draft, basically since Zion Williamson back in the 2019 season. So yeah, it's been a little bit. He's more hyped up than Cade Cunningham was at Oklahoma State, than Anthony Edwards was at Georgia, Paolo Banchero at Duke. Yeah, Cooper Flagg is the real deal. He's going to make such a defensive impact right away at Duke. A lot of people are throwing out the Andre Kirilenko comparisons. He's 6'9" from Maine. He skipped a grade as well. He reclassified to be in this 2025 NBA draft. He's one of the best shot blockers that I've ever seen coming out of the high school circuit, and he's going to be one of the best players in college basketball next year. He could shoot the ball. He can have a good handle. He can cross guys up. I got to see him in person as well at Hofstra University last year. They took on Lou High. I saw him cross up somebody on there. He is legit for somebody of his age. He could be a 3-level scorer in this league while also being one of the best defenders in this league. They threw out the Andre Kirilenko comparison, like I said. Scottie Pippen has been thrown out there. And it's going to be exciting for once to actually have a top college guy to be talked about all season long. Like obviously this past year, it was Reese Shea and Alex Sarr. And then you also had your T-John Salons of the world and the Ignite guys. So it's going to be cool to actually talk about a bunch of college prospects in the 2025 season. And this would be somebody that could turn the Nets franchise around after they're going to go through maybe some dark times in the post-Harden, KD, Kyrie era, in the post-Mikal Bridges era that they're about to enter, and Cooper Flagg could be the light at the end of the tunnel for them and could be their franchise player for years to come. So, all right, so I wasn't wrong about most of that. It was funny because Cooper Flagg did have a question mark with the outside shot from Montverde going to Duke, and he just shut those critics up. He shot 38% from 3. And it's just funny, like the teams that were going to be projected to get the #1 overall pick. And honestly, like the lottery did screw up the Jazz, the Wizards, and some of the teams at the top. But the Nets were too good to really even be in the Cooper Flagg conversations unless they got some luck on the lottery night. So I did get the #1 overall pick right, projecting it to be Cooper Flagg. That isn't really impressive. Everybody had Cooper Flagg over Ace Bailey a year ago. But I do have Ace Bailey #2 here to the Washington Wizards, who ended up going 4 to Utah. Coming in at #2, I have the Washington Wizards selecting Ace Bailey, a wing out of Rutgers. Yeah, Rutgers is going to be good next year. They got Ace Bailey, and they're going to... They didn't end up being good. They didn't end up being good with 2 top 5 picks. Another top 10 prospect we're going to talk about. I know it's another wing going to Washington, and I'm not sure if he could play alongside Alex Sarr. We're going to see how the 3-point shot is going to look at Rutgers this upcoming season. And Ace Bailey is going to be one of the best athletes in this class, and that's why I love the Thompson twins last year. That's why I loved Ron Holland in this class. Athleticism can play at the NBA level when you're looking at guys that want to get to the rim, that could finish at the rim, and they can use their athleticism that some of these other guys can't to be more efficient at the rim. And that's why I'm a big fan of Ace Bailey right now. He's pretty much a top 3 high school recruit coming into this collegiate season. Going to be playing in the Big Ten, which should be a little bit better. They're adding USC and UCLA, Washington, and Oregon this year. And there's going to be some inconsistencies with his game, and we'll see when it's not going offensively, will he step up defensively? But when it's going offensively, this guy can be a legit scorer in this league with his explosiveness and athleticism. I've seen some Tracy McGrady comps, and yeah, you're going to have him with Bilal Coulibaly on the perimeter there in Washington, which could be kind of fun, with Alex Sarr being the rim protector inside and Bub Carrington running the show as the lead initiator. Coming in at So it is kind of funny to look back on that just because there was a really good chance Ace Bailey was going to be a Washington Wizard. He kind of tanked his draft stock in a way, right? He really wanted to go to Washington at 6. Utah said, screw it, we're going to take you there at number 5. I think I may have mentioned 4 before. And he ended up becoming a Utah Jazz. And honestly, I think I gave a fair assessment of Ace Bailey coming out of high school to Rutgers. There was going to be some inconsistencies, and there were. That's why he fell a little bit in the draft, because if Ace Bailey was the player we thought he could be coming out of high school, school. He would have went 2, definitely 3 at the minimum, no matter the workout debate with everything going on. I thought the athleticism was on display at Rutgers, the chase down blocks, the transition defense. He did struggle sometimes at just like getting to the rim because he would settle for tougher jumpers. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch him in Utah. And yeah, Ace Bailey ended up going at number 5. I would have said he was a lock to be a top 3 pick a year ago. So it is a little bit shocking. Yeah, I think Philadelphia still would have taken him at number 3 if there wasn't the whole workout drama with his agent. Either way, number 3. Yeah, we're going to have a 16 pick discrepancy here between 3 and where he actually went in the NBA draft. I love Nolan Traore so much. In the Adidas circuit last summer, he was just so skilled with the ball in his hands, and he was a standout, and he was a consensus top 5 pick before the year started. And it's just going to be interesting to see if I get any of the teams right. It's going to be tough to match the actual pick because currently I didn't get 1, 2, 3 right, and it's probably going to trickle down. So it's going to be interesting to see, yeah, if I can match any of the teams at least.
Number 3, because I wanted to give them a point guard. Yeah, you could have put Portland or Detroit or Charlotte here. I'm going to give the Utah Jazz the 3rd overall pick, and I'm going to give them Nolan Traore out of France. Yeah, France is going to get another top 5 prospect in this upcoming NBA draft in 2025. And no, I'm not done. There's another French prospect we're going to talk about as well. Nolan is an absolute beast. He's 6'5". I got to watch his Nike Hoop Summit game the other day online, and this dude is going to be such a good rim attacker. This guy can get downhill as quick as anybody, but he also has a great looking step back jumper that he can avoid with it getting blocked at all costs. Like, he could be with no separation and it's not getting blocked. He's going to be able to get it off. He's a great,
which is honestly not too far off from what he was at St. Quentin. He can get downhill very quickly. Sometimes he would struggle finishing at the rim, but he has one of the quicker first steps for a guard in this class. And I don't think that changed from last year's season in the Jeep Elite League. And that step back jumper was on display at well. It looks so smooth, just sometimes struggled with the efficiency and the consistency.
Great shooter. He can get to the rim. He scored 45 points in the EuroLeague's like Adidas Next Generation game, and he was the star of that game as well. And like I said, he's one of the best downhill guys in this draft. Beautiful looking handle, and at 6'5", is a modern day point guard. Will get teammates involved, and he's actually somebody that could turn this Jazz's franchise around because the Jazz are in limbo right now. They're not good enough, nearly not good enough to contend for a playoff spot in the Western Conference. Lauri Markkanen's going to be a free agent next year. Are they going to dish out $40-50 million to Lauri? Could actually change the direction of this franchise because he could lead this team out of this weird limbo period that they are in, and he could be the point guard. You can have Keontae George and maybe Isaiah Collier work out with him in the backcourt. You have Cody Williams, who I'm excited to see this year. Him with Taylor Hendricks would be a lot of fun, and Walker Kessler, and if Lauri Markkanen, if they were to resign him as well. And this would be a really nice future for the Jazz.
Coming in, yeah, some bad takes in there. That's for sure. I actually like Nolan Traore more than the consensus leading up to the draft. I actually like the Nets getting him at 19. I just don't love the fit with him, Ben Saroff, and Yegor Demet over there. But I think the Nets definitely got him for where he should have went. I think he could have gone a couple picks higher. It's just you really struggle to find Nolan Traore as somebody that can knock down difficult shots, that can absorb contact. And I'm very interested to see because the whole Nets drafting philosophy was a complete wild card, and it's going to be so entertaining, or at least interesting to see how it unfolds this year. And here at the number 2 pick, go number 4. Just shout out Pistons fans. You guys were in top 5 early mocks talk a year ago. You guys have always been in top 5 talks for a little bit now. And here you are. You gave up the 17th overall pick to Minnesota. Just shout out the Pistons and their fans, man. All right, let's see what I have to say about Dylan Harper. Should have had him 2 spots higher.
Number 4, I got Detroit taking Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey's teammate at Rutgers this upcoming season. I think if the Pistons are picking in the top 5 again, most likely it's not working out with Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, and obviously you're going to choose to keep Cade Cunningham around and move on from Jaden Ivey, and I think Dylan Harper could be a great combo guard next to Cade Cunningham because he's going to be able to space the floor. He was once actually the top high school prospect in this recruiting class before Cooper Flagg reclassified. He's the son of Ron Harper, who played in the NBA. He's got great size, long arms, great athleticism, can get to the rim super fast, and he's got a great feel for the game. He's not as athletic as Nolan is or Ace Bailey, but he's somebody that is not going to turn the ball over, that can get his teammates involved, that is going to take good shots, has a high basketball IQ, and like I said, great feel for the game already, and that's what Detroit can use. I think he's going to be a solid defender, and if he's a consistent enough three-point shooter with his ball handling ability and his court vision at Rutgers this upcoming year, could be actually the perfect backcourt partner with Cade Cunningham that they probably thought they were getting in Jaden Ivey back in 2022. At number
It's funny because, yeah, Detroit wasn't picking anywhere close to this. They made the playoffs, had one of the more special seasons last year. And if you would have told me, like, Dylan Harper was going to be playing with De'Aaron Fox next year, I was going to say, how bad were the Sacramento Kings in 2025? It's wild that he's going to be playing with Fox and Castle in San Antonio. And, yeah, I was off by 2 spots for sure, and I think Pistons fans are okay with it.
5, I got the Portland Trailblazers here. They're probably going to be picking around this range, even with them adding Denny Avdia and Donovan.
Well, I was wrong. They picked 11. Shout out to Portland this past year.
And I mean, they have a weird roster construction right now at the moment I'm recording this video. Like, are they going to move Jeremy Grant? Probably can't move DeAndre Ayton. I'm sure they're looking to moving Robert Williams. They still got to figure out what they're doing with Anthony Simons. But here at number 5, I have them selecting VJ Edgecombe out of Baylor. So I get to see Edgecombe in person as well in that Lehigh Montverde Academy game. And Edgecombe didn't have like the greatest game, but his athleticism stands out. He's actually playing for the Bahamas national team this summer in the Olympics, which is really cool. He's working out with like Klay Thompson, Eric Gordon, DeAndre Ayton. He's 6'5", an explosive athlete. And like Ace Bailey, that's going to play at the NBA level, being this wing that can lock in on the defensive end, that can run in transition. And I think he's going to pretty much step right into Jacoby Walter's role that he was in at Baylor last year. I think he's going to be better than Walter getting downhill, and definitely a highly touted prospect, more than Walter was when Walter was coming into Baylor, at least a little bit more than last year in my opinion. And he would be really fun in Portland, who could use another athletic wing out there since they didn't add one in the 2024 draft, since they just ended up with Donovan Clingan.
All right, yeah, so honestly, that all played for Edgecombe at Baylor. Portland was a lot better than that. They were a great second half team. He ends up going to Philadelphia at number 3. I would have been a little bit shocked if you told me a year ago Edgecombe was going to get drafted ahead of Ace Bailey, and maybe that doesn't change. Of the off the court issues for Ace Bailey just with his camp and not wanting to go to Philadelphia ended up coming on display. But Edgecombe, man, like, he's going to be so much fun. After watching like the interview after he gets drafted, because I couldn't watch it on the stream, where he just talks about living off a generator and his upbringing, he's going to be such an easy guy to root for at the NBA level. And I think the Sixers got a really good player. He's my 3rd ranked prospect. He went number 3. I'm really excited to see him. Here we go. I thought Chicago could have gotten their center for the future, but they were also a little bit too good in 2025.
6, I have the Chicago Bulls picking here, and I hope they're picking around this range and they're not trying to stay competitive with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. And I have them taking Kaman Malak from Duke. The 7th.
1, the Bulls have stayed the same pretty much a year later. At least they did trade away DeRozan and LaVine. 2, I knew I was going to butcher his name. I really did. At least we figured it out along the way.
5'2" center. Yeah, I'm sure Bulls fans are thrilled to hear me have them taking a center in this upcoming draft. Hopefully they can now move on from Nikola Vucevic. He's from South Sudan. He came through the NBA Africa Academy, something Ulrich Tomchi, who went at the end of this year's draft late to the Toronto Raptors, did. He's got long-term upside. Maybe the feel for the game is going to have to come, and maybe 1 year at Duke isn't going to be enough, but maybe by year 3 and 4 of his professional career, he could be a lockdown rim protecting center at 7'2" with his speed, size, mobility, which I think is great for somebody of his size right now, and athleticism as well, and can anchor a defense for Matas Buzelis and Kobe White and Josh Giddey for a couple years as they're kind of figuring out what they're going to be long term. Coming in at
I don't know if the Raptors would have traded down, but what, like Chicago, could you have offered Toronto some type of package to go up to 9 just so you could have leapfrogged Phoenix to take him? That would have been kind of nice for your future. I like him more than Essengay in this class. And just looking back at that South Sudan game against Team USA last year, was one of the best games we got in last Olympics that I think should be talked about a little bit more, just because obviously the gold medal game and the Final Four, whatever the game before that was against Serbia in the semifinals, that was amazing. But that South Sudan game was so much fun to watch because we almost saw one of the biggest upsets in like Team USA in Olympics history.
Number 7, I have Toronto getting Liam McNeely from UConn. Liam McNeely played with Cooper Flagg at Montverde Academy last year. He originally committed to Indiana and then decommitted and now is going to UConn, who just won 2 national championships, easily their best recruit. And he's going to be a beautiful complementary piece. This guy is going to be a knockdown shooter, arguably the best shooter out of anybody we have talked about. Spot up, off the dribble, he can work the pick and pop because he's got a good size and frame as well. And Toronto needs shooters. RJ Barrett could be inconsistent. Scotty Barnes could be inconsistent. They just drafted Jacoby Walter, who was inconsistent last year at Baylor at times, but Liam McNeely would be a sure thing from downtown. You're not drafting him to be one of your top guys and a franchise-changing player, but a nice complementary piece to Emmanuel Quickley, who you just paid, and Scotty Barnes, who you just paid.
McNeely had like crazy draft stock going up and down throughout the year. If you look at any mock draft from like January or February, maybe even early March of the collegiate season, he was a consensus top 10 pick. He was going like right after that top tier of guys, right outside the top 5, and he was in like that Trey Johnson, Kasperi Shakachonis tier. He ended up falling to 29 on the night of the NBA draft. Adam is my 20th ranked prospect. I thought there was a chance he could have returned to Stores and play his sophomore year at UConn. He goes through the draft. He still ends up being a first rounder, and Charlotte got, I think, great value at number 29. And here is where the way too early thing comes into play. Jaleel Bethea was in that tier of like Con Knipple, Liam McNeely, that second tier of wings in this class, and he just had a terrible situation at Miami last year.
And at number 8 to the Charlotte Hornets, I have Jaleel Bethea, who's currently going to the University of Miami. He's a 2-guard. Bethea is about 6'4", 170 right now. And I think his athleticism is going to be really impressive this upcoming year at Miami. He's going to be a good shooter and has 3-level scorer tendencies, but I think at the worst could be like Jacoby Walter, who we just talked about, and a 3-and-D prospect right away. And going to Charlotte could be perfect. They just drafted Tijon Salon to bridge the gap pretty much between Mark Williams and Brandon Miller on the offensive and defensive ends. And now Jaleel Bethea could be in between LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, which is something to be excited about.
It was a disaster. Jim Larinaga basically retired midway through the year. He ended up transferring to Alabama, so playing under Nate Oates is going to be great for him, and clearly they still see a great player in Jaleel Bethea, so he ends up just staying. If he ended up going into the NBA draft, probably would have been a late second-round pick, undrafted guy, and I had him 8th a year ago.
9, I have the San Antonio Spurs getting Hugo Gonzalez out of Spain. So yeah, another international prospect joining Nolan Traore here is going to the Spurs. He's a very accomplished FIBA player already and is just 18 years old. He's a 6'7" wing with guard-like skills. He definitely needs to be a little bit more reliable with his outside shot, but if that comes, could be a really crafty scorer at the NBA level and a nice complementary piece to Wembanyama.
So yeah, that shot never came. He was very inconsistent this past year at Real Madrid, but Jack Simone, who does a lot of great Celtics content, basically said that and talked about Real Madrid's roster is just loaded with NBA alumni. You got Serge Ibaka, Mario Hezonja, Bruno Fernando, and others over there, so he didn't have a lot of playing time, and that's why Brad Stevens really liked in Hugo Gonzalez's character, somebody that's just willing to play whatever role he needs on the floor. He's got massive hand size. That shot did not come around, though, this past year over in Spain, but he's a developmental guy. He had potential last year. The offensive game didn't really come around due to the small sample size, so now he's more of a project long-term guy for the Boston Celtics, so he ended up going about 19 picks later than when I originally had him. So here we go. I was 2 spots off for Yegor Demon, and I'd probably say his name is Demon, which I can't wait to hear.
10, I have the Sacramento Kings, and I have them selecting Igor Demon out of BYU.
Okay, so I actually said the first name wrong and the last name right.
This was a shocker when he decided to play college basketball. He played with Hugo Gonzalez, who we just talked about, at Real Madrid. And BYU just hired former Suns assistant coach Kevin Young, who we thought could have been a head coach in this league one day. He's going to BYU to coach them. This is a huge get for BYU in this upcoming collegiate season. Igor has great natural talent. This guy is skilled to play basketball. He's 6'9". He's able to make plays for himself and for others as well. He can create his own shot, but we'll see if there's a lack of physicality and consistency on the defensive end that can make him a top 10 pick in this upcoming draft. But it's definitely really interesting because he could play multiple positions, and that's what Sacramento could use. They could experiment him at the 2, the 3, or the 4. And
yeah, I had no idea that they were going to trade De'Aaron Fox, and Demon actually went 2 picks higher than that. And I said there was like some defensive inconsistencies, which there definitely were at BYU last year, but it was more so the shot. Like, a lot of people would have felt more comfortable about Yegor Demon at pick 8 if he shot the ball better. If he shot the ball better, he could have ended up going maybe number 6 to Washington, maybe number 5 to Utah, but the lack of the outside shot dropped him to 8, and he's going to be a little bit more of a project in Brooklyn. Imagine if San Antonio got Trey Johnson.
San Antonio is back on the clock at number 11 with the Atlanta Hawks first round pick. Yeah, they have the Hawks pick next year from the DeJounte Murray trade. That's why I feel like Atlanta can't trade away Trae Young, because they can't afford to lose a top pick in this draft because it's a loaded one. And San Antonio at number 11 is getting Trey Johnson, the wing out of Texas. I feel like he's kind of a throwback 2-guard. He's got a nice mid-range game to him, which, you know, I'm going to love. Like, growing up watching Carmelo Anthony and Kobe Bryant, I love guys with a mid-range game. He's got a great competitive gene. He's got that scoring mentality, and he can make some tough shots at the NBA level, in my opinion. I'm excited to watch him this year at Texas. He's got a good size, a good frame. He's only going to continue to fill out in his body even more. So like I said, I'm really excited to see him at Texas. He could go as high as 3 in this upcoming draft, in my opinion. So getting him at 11 right now is kind of exciting in San Antonio with him and Hugo going there. At number
so that would have been really cool in hindsight, and I think I gave a fair assessment too of what Trey Johnson could have been at Texas. A big-time shot maker, great mid-range jumper, something we saw in high school for him and last year at Texas, and I'm really excited to watch him in Washington.
12, I have the Houston Rockets selecting, and I have them getting Colin Murray Boyles from South Carolina, a sophomore. So yeah, this is our first returning player and non-freshman in this class, which is also kind of exciting as well. Colin Murray Boyles could also go top 6 in this draft. He probably could have been a first rounder in the 2024 draft had he declared. He had a phenomenal freshman year, especially to the end of it for South Carolina. I expect him to explode in his sophomore year. This guy is a defensive mastermind. He can guard multiple positions. He could switch on that end of the floor. He could rebound at both ends. He can crash the offensive glass, the defensive defensive class. He could score for himself, but I do think he needs to work on his shooting if he wants to be a top pick in this upcoming draft. But at 12 would be a really nice fit in Houston under Ime Udoka, who's also a defensive mastermind. And
so yeah, that was a big swing skill for Conrad Bowles in the pre-draft process that we didn't really see, or was more inconsistent at South Carolina, the outside shot. If he shot a little bit better, if the form was a little bit quicker, he could have gone a lot higher than he did. And he went high at number 9 as well. There was mocks that had him to Houston, so I was so close on that. And then Houston ended up trading their pick anyway. Probably had the wrong UNC guy here at 13.
13, I have the Orlando Magic getting Ian Jackson out of UNC. Ian Jackson is a really athletic two-way guard right now who excelled pretty much as a scorer throughout all his years of high school. I feel like he's also going to be able to play in the clutch when the lights are bright, especially at UNC this upcoming season. He's not going to be fazed by it whatsoever. His athleticism will play, his scoring will play, and I'm intrigued to see who turns out to be the top prospect from UNC this upcoming year. It could be Ian Jackson, it could be Drake Powell, another wing that's a freshman, or it could be Elliot Cadeau, who's staying. He was a guard last year for them. And Orlando just seems to love getting these guys that can dribble, pass, shoot, and defend on the perimeter. And at
maybe they don't like to get guys that could shoot, or at least a year ago. And if you would have told me that Ian Jackson was playing in New York next year, I would have said, wow, the Nets took him maybe as high as they did. How did he end up as a Knick? No, he's playing for St. John's, leaving UNC for St. John's. What a world we're in with the NIL. So was 2 picks off with Noah Essengay as well.
14, it's another French prospect, the second one here in the lottery, Noah Essengay out of France. I think he's a little bit lower than some other guys' mocks and big boards right now, but I think he can shoot up draft boards this upcoming year, kind of like we saw Reece Haché and Tijon Salon. And Essengay is a very fluid game to him. When there's like a loose ball out there or there's chaos, he knows where to be on the floor. He can catch alley-oops, he can run in transition, knows when to cut, knows when to slash. I think there is a raw feel for the game right now, but he's 6'10" as a wing. I don't know what France is doing over there, but it's another freak-like prospect in this upcoming draft. He's going to the Pelicans at 14. Just throw him on the perimeter with Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. It's going to be fun to watch. And obviously there could be a couple guys that could be honorable mentions here as well. Rocco Zikarsky, big man playing in the NBL where Alex Sarr just came from.
Yeah, he went a lot later. He went in the second round. Just not a ton of playing time for him in Brisbane last year, or at least opportunities, you could say. And Essengay, like I said, I was 2 picks off. I think that was also another good assessment into his upcoming season at Ratio Farm. The shot is another big swing skill for him. And I was a little shocked he went 12 to Chicago. I didn't think that was going to end up happening, but they clearly see something in him, similar to what they saw in Matas Buzelis a year ago.
Pate, who was actually with the G League Ignite last year, but he had to do 2 years there due to his eligibility. So I think he's going to be playing for Mexico City's G League team this upcoming year.
Yeah, so Dink Pate actually went undrafted. So I was way off on at least 2 of my honorable mentions so far. Make that 3 with Kwame Evans from Oregon.
Evans from Oregon, Isaiah Evans from Duke, and Caleb Foster from Duke as well could all be prospects that could go in the lottery.
Damn, so
this 2025 NBA draft, which is a year from now. So
wow, okay, yeah, I didn't have Con Knipple. I had Isaiah Evans, who I think would have been a first-round pick if he declared, and Caleb Foster probably wasn't on anybody's draft boards this past season. And yeah, some other lottery picks that I didn't have outside of Con Knipple. Derek Queen wasn't mentioned here, but I did mention his 2 teammates at Montverde in Liam McNeely and Cooper Flagg. You also had Carter Bryant, but he was somebody that kind of rose up draft boards throughout the year, and nobody had Cedric Howard on their radar as well. And that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy most of my content throughout the 2025 draft cycle. This is probably going to be the last video regarding the 2025 draft until maybe I regrade it or something in like a year from now. So yeah, tomorrow you guys will be getting my way too early 2026 mock, which honestly, the talent has been getting better and better over the last few years. 2025 was a lot better than 2024, and I think 2026 is going to be better than 2025. There's some blue chippers, there's some great guys with high upside, and I'm so excited to talk about it with you guys tomorrow, and I'll catch y'all there. Peace.